Let's talk about Abraham's seed in Galatians and in Genesis. In Paul's letter to the Galatians, he talks about Abraham's seed, the seed, and he uses the discussion of the seed as an important point in proving his teachings on the promises and on the two covenants. And he uses this reference to the seed in Genesis in showing his teachings. So let's look at what Paul has to say about the seed in Galatians, and let's look also at Genesis for some context. Galatians 3:16 says, "Yet to Abraham and his seed the promises were declared. He said not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to your seed, which is Christ." So Paul points out that the word seed, which we'll see the Hebrew word zerah, is used in the singular. It's not used in the plural. And he also says that Christ, or the anointed, the Mashiach, the Messiah, is this seed described in Genesis. And also, in verse 19, he says, "What then of the law? It was added because of the transgressions, until which the seed may be coming, to whom he is promised." So Paul points out that the seed is in the singular. It's not seeds, as in the plural. It is not of many, but it is one individual, one seed. And he says that this one seed is the Messiah. And he also says that this relates to the promises and this relates to the law. And I want us to draw attention to that wording that Paul used. Paul was quoting "and to your seed" from one of these passages that we will look at in Genesis. So let's pay attention to that as we are reading. Genesis 13:14 through 16. "And Yahuwah said to Avram, after being parted of Lot from with him, Bear please your eyes, and see the place which you are there, toward north and toward south and toward east and toward sea, that all of the land which you are seeing, to you I am giving it, and to your seed, unto obscurity. And I shall place your seed as dust of the land, which if man is able to count dust of the land, moreover your seed shall be counted." So Abraham is brought to the land of Canaan, and he is promised that he will be given all of the land that he can see, all of the land of Canaan. And it is not only being given to him, it says, "To you I am giving it, and to your seed." So we see this "and to your seed" just as Paul quoted. We will see it again later. And it says that "I shall place your seed as dust of the land." How many particles of dust are there in the land? Genesis 15:5. "And he brought him toward the outside, and he said, Cause to look, please, toward the skies, and count the stars, if you are able to count them. And he said to him, Thus your seed shall be." So Abraham is being told to look at the sky, look at the stars in the sky, and see if he can count them. "Thus your seed shall be." Genesis 15:13 through 14. "And he said to Avram, No, you shall know that your seed shall be sojourner in land not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall humble them 400 years. And moreover, the nation which they shall serve, I am judging, and after so, they shall go forth in great property. Avram is told that his seed is going to be a sojourner in a land that is not theirs. So even though seed is indeed singular, we do see plural words being used. We see theirs, they, them, they, and also they again. They are going to be a sojourner in a land that does not belong to them. It's not the land of Canaan. They are going to serve them. They will be humiliated for 400 years. Afterward, the nation is going to be judged. And after that, they are going to go forth with great property and great wealth. Genesis 17, 4 through 14. I, behold, my covenant with you, and you shall be to father of clamoring of nations. And he shall not be called further your name Avram, and your name shall be Abraham, that father of clamoring of nations I gave you. And I shall cause you to fruit in exceedingly, and I shall give you to nations, and rulers shall go forth from you. And I shall cause to rise my covenant between me and between you and between your seed after you to their generations, to covenant of obscurity, to be to you, to Elohim, and to your seed after you. And I shall give to you and to your seed after you land of your sojournings, all land of Canaan, to holding of obscurity, and I shall be to them to Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, and you, my covenant you shall guard, you and your seed after you, to their generations. This is my covenant which you shall guard between me and between you and between your seed after you. Be circumcised to you all male, and you shall be circumcised, flesh of your foreskin. And it shall be to sign of covenant between me and between you. And son of 8 days shall be circumcised to you, all male to your generations, one birthed of house and acquisition of silver, from all son of foreigner, which he is not from your seed. Be circumcised, he shall be circumcised, one birthed of your house and acquisition of your silver. And my covenant shall be in your flesh, to covenant of obscurity. And uncircumcised male, which flesh of his foreskin shall not be circumcised, and that vitality shall be cut from its peoples. He caused to annul my covenant. Avram is having his name changed to Abraham because he will be a father of a clamoring of nations. Many nations are going to come from him, and rulers shall go forth from him as well. The covenant is being caused to rise with him, and also with his seed after him to their generations. So the seed, once again, it says there. And Elohim will be the Elohim of Abraham, and he will be the Elohim to your seed. So we see this and to your seed twice in this passage. And the land of Canaan is being given to Abraham and to your seed. And he is commanded to guard the covenant, he and his seed after him, to their generations. And the covenant is very specific. It says that the flesh of the foreskin is to be circumcised. So it directly specifies that we are talking about the flesh, the physical body. And we see that this not only applies to those birthed of his house, but also those that are brought in from the sons of foreigners, which he is not from your seed. And finally, Genesis 22:17. that blessing, I shall bless you, and causing to be many, I shall cause to be many your seed, as stars of the skies and as sand which is on shore of the sea. So right here it says the seed is going to be many. It's going to be as the stars of the sky, and it's going to be as the particles of sand on the shore. So Paul is right in saying that the word zerah, the word seed in Hebrew, is never used in the plural in these passages, or maybe never at all for that matter. It always appears in the singular. But does his description in his teaching actually match what's going on in Genesis? As a reminder, let's look at what he said. Galatians 3:16, "Yet to Abraham and his seed the promises were declared. He said not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to your seed, which is Christ." So let's compare this with some of the things we looked at in Genesis. Paul said, not and to seeds as of many, but as of one. Genesis 13:16, "As dust of the land, which if man is able to count dust of the land, moreover your seed shall be counted." How many particles of dust are there in the land? Is there just one particle of dust? If it is only one particle of dust, then why is it that Elohim is suggesting it cannot be counted? Genesis 15:5, "Count the stars if you are able to count them. And he said to him, thus your seed shall be." Look at the night sky and see how many stars there are. See how many you can count. Is there only one? "My covenant you shall guard, you and your seed after you, to their generations." Would we use the word "their" if we were talking about just one individual? "I shall cause to be many, your seed as stars of the skies and as sand which is on shore of the sea." If you look at the stars in the night sky, how many stars are there? If you look at the sand, the particles of sand on the shore of the sea, how many individual particles of sand do you see? And we see this causing to be many as well. The seed is many. But Paul said it's not many. And in regard to the next part of the verse, Paul said, "And to your seed, which is Christ." We looked at Genesis 15 earlier. "Your seed shall be sojourner in land not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall humble them 400 years. And moreover, the nation which they shall serve I am judging, and after so they shall go forth in great property." So Paul says that the seed is singular, and that the seed is referring to the Messiah or the Christ. Yet he is referring to this same seed that's being described here. "Your seed shall be sojourner in land not theirs." So as we looked at earlier, theirs and they and them and they and they in reference to the seed. They are serving, they are being humiliated for 400 years. The nation they are serving is going to be judged, and afterward they are going out with great property. What event might this refer to? In Exodus 12:41, in reference to the Passover, "And it was from end of 30 and 400 year, this day they went forth." So after 430 years, they are going forth from the land of Pharaoh. Exodus 3:22, "And woman shall ask from her one tabernacling and from one sojourning of her house articles of silver and articles of gold and garments." We see this referred to repeatedly at the beginning of Exodus. The people are commanded to ask those around them, those dwelling with them, to give them articles of silver, articles of gold, and other objects. And it says that they effectively plundered them. that they were given favor in their eyes, and that they effectively plundered the nation in their leaving on the Exodus. So this seems very similar to what we saw in Genesis 15. In Genesis 15, the seed shall be a sojourner in a land not theirs. The Israelites were sojourners in the land of Pharaoh, and they shall serve them. The Israelites served them, and they shall humble them 400 years. The Israelites dwelled in the land of Pharaoh for 430 years, and they were caused to serve them, and they were humiliated and caused to be humbled during that time. And moreover, the nation which they shall serve, I am judging. Pharaoh and his people had many plagues, many signs and wonders brought upon them, many punishments and judgments brought upon them, and the land was effectively destroyed in the departing of the Israelites. And after so, they shall go forth in great property. As we saw, the Israelites were to ask the people of the land to give them articles of gold, articles of silver. And it says later on that they were given favor, and they were given these things. They effectively plundered them in their leaving. They were given great property. Deuteronomy 1, 8 and 10. See, I gave to your faces the land. Come and occupy the land, which Yahuwah has sworn to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give to them and to their seed after them. Yahuwah, your Elohim, caused you to be many, and behold today, as stars of the skies to many. And this once again might remind us of some of the things that we have already looked at in reference to the seed, such as the stars being many and being given the land of Canaan. So clearly we can see that the way that Paul describes the seed and the way that Genesis describes the seed, there's definitely a variance here. There's definitely a difference in the way they describe it. Paul's description does not match what we see in Genesis. And Paul is taking this small little bit, the "and to your seed," and he is building his doctrine from that. He's using that as his justification, as his textual justification and scripture reference in showing the supposed validity of his teachings. Now the question is, if we were talking about someone in general that was giving a teaching, and they took one tiny bit of a verse, just took it out of context, and said that, oh, this is actually talking about something completely different than what it says in the original context. If someone was doing that, and they claimed to be speaking the truth on behalf of Elohim himself, how would we regard such a person? How would we respond to that? And one might say that, well, Paul is a rabbi, Rabbi Shaul. He was a Pharisee and he was a rabbi. He's just teaching like a rabbi. Maybe that is part of the problem.